Hello students, so we will solve our practice that I have given you step by step. So first thing that we need to do, because our files are in the LMS, so we will open the LMS, and now we have our two sections, whether it's 10 or 11. So we need to find out the files. So they should be under the last lecture that we have taken. So now here we have lecture number 10. So here we are talking about these. First of all, I'm opening this PDF file in a new tab. So this is our instructions that we need to follow. So let me quickly make it bigger so we can understand. And the other thing that we need to do is the download the practice. So when I download, it automatically download into my folder, which is the downloads folder. So I am copying this thing from here and put it on my desktop. Number one thing. The second thing that I need to do after downloading the zip file, I need to right click on that and then I need to extract. And when I want to extract, I just want to replace that name IS311 underscore practice. Okay, so because I want to extract this folder on the desktop, when I do that, extract. So now you can see that I have my folder and I also have my zip file. So we are not working on the zip file, we are opening the folder. So once I open the folder, inside this folder IS31 underscore practice, I want to create a new folder, and that should be 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. That, I mean, the numbers should be your ID, and then I say your name. Okay, ID underscore name. So once we have done this part, and if we come back to our slides, so first thing is that you need to download the ISC1 underscore practice from the LMS, create a new folder inside this folder using your student ID and name, and then all of your files will be inside. So what we will talk about the submission at the end, how we will submit it back on the LMS once we have finished our work. So now this is a scenario which explain that we have index file, we have the employee file, we have the search employee file, we have a delete employee file, we also have an app.js, we have employee.sql file, which are present inside our this folder. If I look into the public folder, you can find all those HTML files I have just shown you or discussed, and then we also have some images, we also have the bootstrap files which help us to apply the bootstrap styling on our web pages. And then we also have the app.js, we also have the employee.sql file. So this explain what are the different files are there. So the first step, this is our first task. And then create a solution folder. We have already done that. Okay. So if you look at that, this is folder that we have created and name it with our student ID underscore name. So we have done our first task. Then the second task here, it say that copy the folder, which is a public folder inside our IS31 underscore practice, put it into your solution folder. Okay, so let's go back to our here. This is our public folder. We copy this folder, copy it, and then inside our solution folder, we are going to paste it. Okay, we'll come back to the practice. The second thing is say that we need to copy the app.js file into our solution folder. Again, we have this app.js, so I will copy this file and I put it inside my, so inside our folder, which is the student ID underscore name, we have copied these two things. Number one, the public folder, which contains the HTML files, starting HTML files, images, and the bootstrapping files. And then we also have copied the app.js folder file inside this our solution folder. And what is the next one? So open this solution folder, that is the student ID underscore name, inside the VS Code. So what I need to do, I need to start the VS Code, and it's coming on my other screen. So I will just try to bring it into this folder. So now you can see that we have opened our VS Code. Now we can open this in the on the welcome page, you can click on the open folder, or you can go to the file and then you say that I want to open a folder, not open file. Okay, make sure that you are opening a folder. Open a folder, and I need to open from our desktop. We have a practice underscore session. We are not going to open the practice. We will open our student id underscore name folder. Okay, select this folder, and now you can see that this folder, which is the my student id underscore name, and it contains the app.js and the public folder. So we have completed this step. So this step is also done. We have opened that folder inside our VS Code. Now go to the next slide, and now we need to open the terminal. Okay, open terminal, and that make sure that this type of that terminal is command prompt. So first of all, need to go into the terminal, and then I need to open a new terminal. I have configured into my PC that this is our command prompt, but in your lab PCs by default it is opening the uh, PowerShell. Then what you need to do, you need to click on down and then select the command prompt. Okay, select the command prompt. Click on the down arrow, select the command prompt. It will open up a new terminal, and it will be a command prompt. Now inside this, if I just try to uh, bring my, I just try to make this thing here, or maybe I can just say that make that, and then down up. So now we have these informations. Now we have opened our terminal, and inside this terminal I need to run some command. The first command is npm init. So okay, so I say npm init dash y. When I press enter, so you can see here this package file has been created for me. Okay, that's fine. What is the next command that we need to do here? It's npm install express and mysql. So npm I express and mysql. Okay, so when we press enter, it will install those dependencies. Here there is no dependencies. Now you can see that it has added these dependencies, and those dependencies has been installed, express and the mysql, that we will be using in our practice. Okay, so what is the next command that I can show? That is a node app.js. So we say node app.js. So when I press enter, look at that. My server is running on the port number 3000, and if you want to close this, then you need to press Control C. So let me open the localhost. Okay, localhost, it should be 3000 or 3001. Okay, so when I press enter, so if you see up to this point, so now you have successfully copied all the required files inside your social folder. You have the app.js, which is this file, which is working, and we have followed some steps. We have initialized our project, we have installed the required packages, and our local host or the server is running. Okay, now again, come back. So we have done our up to this point, we have finished our steps. Now the task number 6, which is related to the database. So when it's related to database, what I need to do, I need to open the XAMPP. So we can click over here and press XAMPP. So we have this XAMPP control panel. Now with this control panel comes up, now we need to start these first two services. We start, and then we also need to start the MySQL. So we Apache and the MySQL services. Make sure that it is not stopping. Sometimes if the XAMPP files are corrupt, what happens? This file of MySQL service stop after some time. So make sure that it is not stopped. So it is running. Okay. Now I click on this admin button. So what will happen? It will open the PHP admin here inside our browser. Now what I need to do here, let's see. Where is our information? So we say open the XAMPP application PHP myadmin. We have opened it. Now we want to under the database. So we under this database here, I want to create a new database. And what is the name of that one? I say practice. So I just copy this thing from here and then paste it here. So I have a practice that I want to create. Okay, so I click on the create button. Cannot create a practice database. I think that we have already have that one. Okay, no problem. What I can do, I can find that practice, and what I do, I want to drop it so that we can create a new one. So we have selected this practice which is already there and click on the drop. It has dropped. Okay, privileges. So I have dropped that folder, that database from our database list. So now I can do that. So I have put that name and then I create the folder database. The database has been created. So now what I need to do, remember inside our files here, the practice folder, we have this employee.sql file. So what I need to do, I need to import that file here. So we are inside our database and then we are click on the import. When I click on the port, I need to select find that file. Okay, so we need to go on our desktop. Inside the desktop we have the practice files and inside we have the employees.sql file. So we'll select that employees.sql file, open it, and then we need to go down and that click on the import button. So when I click on the import button, now you can see that it has created an employees table inside our practice database. And if I click on the employees table, you can see there are 10 different records which has been added inside this database. So we have finished our this part. So we have opened the XAMPP, opened the phpMyAdmin, run both of these services, created the database and imported the MySQL file. And remember the structure of our employees table is the name is employees and it has mainly three fields: name, salary, and joining year, and the ID, which is the by default auto incremented, automatically generated by the system. So we have finished our up to this point. I hope that you understand what steps we have taken. Now, task number 7. So first of all, we have already copied this app.js file from our practice folder into our solution folder, and then this file is already open. Next task is that we need to create a connection with the database practice that we have created here, this database which we have created inside our my PHP admin or inside MySQL database management system. So we want to connect our application with this database. So we need to create a connection and then we need to connect with that database. Okay. So we have provided you a helper file. So what does a helper file mean? Inside our practice folder, we have a helper folder. Inside the helper folder, we have different type of files. First of all, the screenshots. Screenshot mean how your index file should look like. Okay, so that is another thing. Then how your search file should look like, how your delete file HTML file should look like at the end, and the add employee file should look like. So these are the different folders. If because how how it will look like once we are done with our index file and so on. Okay. So we have the screenshots. We also have the this cheat sheet file, which is actually representing the information that we don't need to remember everything. We can see all these different type of tags which are present: input, rotation, bootstrap, CSS. So these are the different helping material that you don't need to remember everything. You can look at that file and then you can use accordingly. The thing that we are want to look here, because we are working on the app.js, we need to create a connection with database. So we have a cheat sheet underscore javascript underscore node.js. Okay, so this is a text file. So what I need to do, I need to locate. So first part is related to the how I can access HTML element, assigning an ID, how I can access that element inside the JavaScript and change its properties if required. If you look at the web server part, so we have the first part is the is that database connection. The first thing is we need to copy this part. Okay, I can copy this, help you how to understand the how to create a connection with the database. So let me bring back a little bit so that we can see this thing. Okay, so now look at that. So it's a variable name. We are defining a variable. This name I want to say that db connection, and then using MySQL that we have imported here, we want to create a connection, and then we need to provide the properties of that connection or the settings of that connection. First of all, our database is in the localhost in the same machine where we are, our database, our server is working. The username is root. There's no password involved. But here in the database, we need to provide that name of the database, the database that we have created here, you know, this database name. So if you look at that, it's a practice. Practice is small, so we need to make sure that we are writing the right name. Okay, practice, and then make sure there is no space between these double quotes before and after that name. Number one thing. And the second thing that we need to copy from if our helper file is this, then what I can do here now, first thing, we have created this database connection. So using this database connection variable, we want to connect. So of course, we need to make sure we are using the same name that we have created here. This name and this name should be, variable name should be. So using this database connection, which we have created in the previous step here, we want to connect with the our server. And it can have an error. If there is an error, we don't throw that error. But here, we want to write a message on the console that we have been connected, there is no error, and we have been connected with our server. Okay, so what I can say, console dot log, and then we can say that we are connected to the database. So once we have done that, and remember that our server is still running, and because we are using the node application to run our server, and we have changed our server code, we have created the connection with the database, and then we are using that database connection variable, we are connecting with our database. Okay, so first of all, we need to come back into our terminal, we need to stop that server. I press Ctrl C, and then after that I need to run that server again. Okay, so when I want to run that server again, node again, run the same application, same command, and then when press enter, now you can see that our connected. And make sure that when you are connecting with database, our Apache and the MySQL services in the XAMPP control panel, they are running, they are not stopped. Okay, they are running. When they are green, it means they are running. So now you can see that it is giving me a message which we have given here, that connected to the database. Okay, so far good. We have done this part, we have created a connection, and we have connected with our database. Now we need to implement some HTTP requests. Okay, and what are those HTTP requests? We need to implement that inside the app.js file, and this part is only if we look at up here in this line will do what? It will serve that public folder to our client, and that's why we can see our index.file whenever we are saying localhost colon 3000, we can see our index file. So due to this line, we can send those files which are present inside our public folder, and index and the search and the delete and the employee. So they have everything which is inside the public folder which has been served to the client, and that's why when we open our localhost colon 3000, we can see that index file. Okay, of course we need to change that index file, but that will come later. Okay, so now we need to implement task number 9. So what it is saying that, so write a code to handle the HTTP request. It's GET request. It means that we need to create inside our application app.js, we need to create an GET request on this specific URL /data/employees. And what it will do, it will read everything from the employees table. This is this table, employees table. It will read everything from here and return the either the error message. If it cannot read anything from this database, there is some error, it return an error message, or it return the records from the table. Okay, so this is what we need to implement inside our app.js. So we are inside our app.js. So what I need to do, I need to implement first of all app.get. Okay, but first, before I can do something, remember we have the helper file, and inside this helper file we have given you a template how to implement the get request, how to implement the post request, how to implement the put request, how to implement the delete request. So we have given these different type of templates here, different type of uh, code here. So of course we are using the get request, so I copy this part and put it here. The first thing that I need to change is the URL. So this URL should be exactly the same slash data slash employees. So I can copy this thing from here and put it here. So now we have say that slash data slash employees. And then this is a method which will actually do the work for me. So first thing is that I need to write a command, select a static from the table name. What is the table name for our database table? It is the employees. So I will rename this part, remove this one, and then I say employees. Okay, so once I did that, and then we say connection variable. So we want to run this query which we have written down here in this line. We want to run this query on our database connection. So we have created our database connection with the name database con, or the database connection db connection. So we need to say that db and connection, the database connection that we have created, and we want to run this query. This is the query which is the select static from employees, and then if there's an error, throw the error. Otherwise we want to send the data back to the client. So we have the request and response object. Using the response object res, we want to send, so res dot send, and we want to send results back. Okay, so once, this is the only thing. Look, we just change the name of the table, and then we say that res, we added this line in the inside this callback method, okay, to send the data back to the client, and we can test it. We can test how we can put in front of that localhost colon slash 3000, we put data slash employees. Okay, when you do that and press enter, right now it say cannot get. Why? Because our server is already running, and then we have make some changes inside our server. So we have implemented this get request, and what we need to do, we need to say control C and then run the server again. So once we run the server again, and now if I do that, send my so we have an error. Okay, and what is the error? So if I can see, we are connected with the server, make sure that we have saved it. Database connection, cannot get that. Refresh it. Nope. Let me first do that, and then I can say slash data slash employees. It gave me an error message. I think that we are having the error. So table practice dot employees not there. So if you look at that, so it gave me an error message in my console, but look at that, we actually misspelled our table name. So we need to make sure that we are writing the same name. We save it, and then of course we need to come down here, we need to run our server again, and now server is running, and then we send our request. So now you can see that, so we are making, we make a spelling mistake inside when we are writing our database name, table name. So table name should be exactly the same that you have created here inside your database. So make sure that you are doing that. Otherwise, it will create some problems. So now you can see that I can see all the records from our uh, from our from our database. Okay, so we can test because it is a guest request. We can test that we have implemented it correctly. Now, what is the next request? Task number 10. So we say that we want to write a code to handle the HTTP post request on the URL slash data slash employees. So it is a post request rather than get request. It is a post request, and that will create a new employee record inside the employees table. So it will receive the data. So now we know that the data is coming inside the body of that request. Okay. So again, let's go back to our post request helper code. So I copy this part. Okay, copy this whole code up to this point. I copy it and put it here in the task number 10. Okay, so now let me bring it a little bit down and also down as well. Okay, so now what I am here, we are in this part. Okay, so first of all, I said that this URL should be slash data slash employees. The first thing that we need to do, we need to do something like this. Okay, and I save it. Now, request and response. So what we are doing to do, from the request body, we just do that. Data request dot body. So we are reading the data from our body, and now we can check. Now what we can check? Okay, first of all, we need to check that I don't need this part. Okay, and I also do not need. Okay, let me do that. If we have the data or data dot name, or I mean we don't have, I would put a not sign in front of it. Not sign in front of the data dot name. And then if you remember that we can see our the structure of our database table, we have a name, we have a salary, and then we have a joining year. So all these three fields are mandatory to be sent by the client. So we say not data, it means data has not been sent by the client, or not data dot salary, or not data dot joining year. Okay, so if data is not given, what I need to do, I need to return something. Okay, what is that? We say return return, and we want to return that our we have an invalid, you know, res.send invalid data, data is not given. So we are testing that the data has been provided by the user. If the data is not provided by the user, then we are sending an invalid message. Okay, so we can uh, now the next thing is that if this is not the case, then what we can do, we can say I want to try, and I want to put catch an error, and inside the error, what we want to say, I want to console the log, console that error in the inside my console, and I want to send that error data error in the database. Okay, so I'm sending an error message. That's now here what I want to try, I want to write a query. So we say let SQL query, that will be equal to what? That will be equal to insert into employees, and then we need to provide the name, need to provide the salary, and need to provide the joining underscore year. And what will be the values? Values will be what? First of all, because if you look at that, our this name is a string, salary is a decimal, and joining year is also a year or it is a number. So what I need to do, I need to make sure that I am putting the uh, do, uh, double quotes around the name value. So data dot name. Data is actually the data that we have read from our body. And then what I can do, I can put a comma and then I say dollar sign and then I say data dot salary. Okay. And then we say again dollar sign and then I say data dot joining underscore year. And then I close it. So we have written down our SQL query to insert the data inside our employees table. Now, once we have written down the query, using our database connection DB connection, we want to run this query. So we have a query method, and then we will provide the SQL query as a value inside it, and then we have error, comma, results. This result will tell us that how many records has been added inside our database. Okay. So first of all, if we have an error, then what I can do, I can throw the error. Number one thing. Second thing is that I want to know if the affected rows, number of the affected rows inside the result, it should be equal to 1 or greater than 0. If it is greater than 0, then we can say that it has been successfully added. Otherwise, we can say that it has been, we are failed to do that. So we say if results dot affected rows is greater than equal to 0. Okay, so we need to write that part. So we are already writing this part. So we will just delete that thing from here. We are doing it. So we say try. We are checking if the affected rows is greater than 0. It means the employees record has been added inside our employees table inside our database. Then we can say that employees added successfully. Otherwise, we can say that it failed to add the employees. Okay, failed to add the employee. So we are sending a message back to our client. And in case we have an error that is throw, then it will be printed on the console and we will send an error message to our client. So this is our post request. And of course, as you know that we cannot test the post request on inside our client unless and until we make our add employee HTML file, completed it, make a form, and then send it to that. Okay, let's see. So we will continue. We will check if there's an error later on when we are testing our making our add employee HTML file. Okay. So now what is the next step? Next, we have done this task number 7. Okay, we are finished with task number 7. Now we say we write a get request. We want to write another get request with a parameter inside the URL, that is the ID, and using that ID we are going to search an employee from the database and send back that record. Okay, so again we can use our we have a put request, we have a delete request, we also have this get request where the we have the URL. Okay, so here again we are copying this part. Okay, and then we are putting inside our app.js file. So let me bring it a little bit down. Okay, and then here we want to write that code or paste that code actually. So we have pasted that code. Of course there is some errors. So what are those? We will solve it. First thing is that we need to make sure that we are having the same URL which is given here. Okay, so I copy this from here and then I put that URL here. Number one thing. Number two thing, we have a request and response object, and then we are getting the value out of the parameters. So what is the parameter here? So how we can do that? So we say constant id is equal to request dot params, and look, this id, that name that we have given here, that should be here, id. Okay, so we can remove that line from here, because we want to get the id out of this url. So we request dot params and the name of this, whatever you have written down here. Okay, so it is id, so it is id. If it is a name, then it is a name. If it is a joining year, then it will be a joining year here as well. So we have find out the id. So now what we can do, we can say if not id, I want to return some information. And what is that? Invalid id. So I'm sending back to the client that you have not provided me a valid id. Number one thing. The second thing that I want to do, we need to give it a try, and then we say, well, I want to catch the error, and then in case of the error, I will print that error on the console, and we send a error message to the client. So what we want to try, we want to, again, we want to let SQL query, and that will be equal to what? Select a static from employees where id is equal to $id. Okay, so what I do here right now, so I say that let create a variable, string variable, and then string variable is equal to, we are giving using the tick to templates, string template, select a static from employees where the id, which is the id equal to what is coming from our client, number one. And then of course, using the db connection, we want to run this query on our server, so SQL query, and then we say error. So now what I'm doing here, we say error, and then we have thumb results. If there's an error, then throw the error. If the results dot length, this results, when we are reading the data, it is more like a array. If it is empty, then the length will be 0. It means we could not find any record with that specific id which is given by the client. If that is the case, okay, it means that we have not found any employee. So in that case, if it is not greater than 0, the length of that results, then we are sending a message that we could not find the employee in our database table. But if we have found the record, then we are sending the first record, because we are only reading one employee, so we will be only sending the one record back to the client. Okay, so this is what, how we can read one employee based on the id information and then send it back to the client. So we have implemented this part, so of course we don't need to here again look at that. We are saying that in our, if there is a, the id is provided, then we say select the static from the table name. Table name in our case is employees, where we want to check id is equal to id. So we have done this part. Then if there is an error message, then we can run that query on the database, and then in this way we are uh, reading the data for a specific employee and sending them back to the client. And this is our, what you can say that. Okay, so we have implemented this specific task, or maybe I can do something like this. I want to do that, or maybe I can come to this one, I do this, and then here I want this. So now it is a bit more clear, you know. So we are doing this task. Let me, you know, so we are doing this task, this one, task number 11. So we have implemented this request. So we have read the data id information from the parameter. If the id is not provided, then we are sending the um, sending the client a message that you have not provided us an ID. If the ID is provided, we are writing a SQL query to read a record from employees table based on the ID value, and then we are running our query on the database, and then this is our callback function which will handle the results or the error from the database query execution. So if there's an error, then we will send the error message. We will throw the error message, and if the we have successfully read the results one record from our database, then the results dot length will be greater than 0. In that case, we are sending the record back to our client. Otherwise, we are sending that we could not read any, there is no employee is found with that ID. And in case of error, we are logging that error on the console of our database here, or on the console of our application, this here on that point. And we are also sending an error message to our client. The next or the last task, which is related to the app.js, is the delete. So we want to delete a specific employee based on its ID. Again, that ID is coming from the client, okay, inside the URL. So again, if I just come back here and then I want to app dot delete, and you know that we also have this delete part here, this one, okay. So let me copy this thing from here and paste it. So now what I can do, so we are reading the, first of all, we need to provide that same URL, that is delete. So we say slash data slash employees and colon ID. Make sure that you are not selecting the quotes. So we are putting that here. Okay. So we have implemented. Now we want to read the ID value from the parameter request.params, and then instead of the parameter we need to provide that this ID which we have written down in the ID. So now we are reading this ID from the parameter of the request and assigning it to, and we also make it a constant, so we make it constant. And here we can change if we have the ID. Okay, we can also, if we just follow the same thing, then what we want to do, if the ID is given, then we say delete from the table, and then we need to say employees where ID is equal to dollar ID. Okay, so we have written down that query, and then instead of using the connection variable, we have our name is db connection. So we say we want to run this query, and if there's an error, throw the error. Otherwise, we want to execute something. So first of all, if it has created, if had deleted the record, then this results will have an affected rows equal to 1. So we can say that if the affected rows, if the results dot affected rows is greater than 0, it means that we have deleted a record. Then we are sending a message back to the client that employee deleted successfully. Otherwise, we are saying employee is not deleted or employee not found. Okay. So in the else part, let me finish. This is the inside here, and then we put that, and then we also put this thing here. Now you can see that there are a few things. So we say here we are putting that, writing the delete query. Then we are executing the query. Then we have error results fields. If the error, throw the error. Otherwise, what we are doing, check that if the row has been deleted, it means that affected rows will be equal greater than 1. Then employee has been deleted. Otherwise, it means there is something wrong. We could not find that specific ID inside our database, and we cannot delete it. And then we can also, if this is not the case, then we can do something like this, the return something like this, that it is an invalid ID which has been provided, or the valid ID is not given. So now if you look at that, we have implemented all the 12 tasks which are related to our server. Number one, And because we have changed our server, so let's come to our terminal here and then control C and then rerun our server. So when we run the server, so we can see that there is no error inside our code, at least in terms of the syntax. There is no error, so server is running. Now the second section, or the section C, is the front end programming. So we have not seen up to this point any of the HTML files. Okay, so we need to go step by step. First in the index file, then we go into the add employee file, then we go into this other files to implement different things inside those HTML on the client side. How we can change the client to make it a full working website or full working employee handling data website. Okay, so we are done with that, so we will leave that app.js. We have rerun our server after all the changes, so that's all okay. Now we come to our desktop. So in the public folder, we have already copied that public folder into our solution folder, and then we can create a CSS files if it is required. Open the index.html file and edit it. Now what I need to do, add a responsive navigation bar. So first of all, I need to add a nav bar in the index.html page. This nav bar will have a logo as an image. Okay, so I can go into my, we have add data, we have these informations. Now we don't have that specific. Do we have? Let me check inside our. This is the JavaScript files. So we actually uh, get request. Then we have the front end programming, displaying the data in the table, adding data, add data. We have update data. Then we have a delete data. Then we also have a search a particular data. So we don't have that nav bar, uh, navigation bar code. So what I can do, uh, definitely don't worry about that. If it is the case, you will be provided a sample or the table. So what I can do, I can go into the bootstrap documentation. Okay, I want to run bootstrap documentation. Okay, so I go into the introduction, I close that one, and then here I want to run the nav bar. So if I just go here, now you can see that what it will give me something like this. So let me first, I need to go something like this, bootstrap. Okay, I will just say that I want to copy this part, drop down and all that stuff. So here we have the navbar. So I will say brand navbar, copy this part, and then I come back here inside my, open my index.html file. I just try to make it like that, and then inside my, here we have a container. So right here on the top I put the uh, div, and then I say it is a container, and then I want to slash div, number one thing, and inside the container I am putting that, or it is already there. I control S. So now you can see that I have put that container navbar. Navbar is expanded and it is a large. So let me go back to our, save it. So now you can see that I can see the navbar on top of it. I think that what I can do, I don't need that container part. So maybe I can just remove that div and the container. You only need the nav bar. If I do that, refresh my page, now you can see that it is covering the whole page. Okay, so why it is so? Okay, so it is showing me the other thing. The other thing is that we want to add a few things. What are the instructions here for the nav bar? So what we need, let me, yes, here. So first of all, add a responsive, and the navbar will have a logo as an image. It means that we are talking about at this point, this uh, navbar brand. So here, instead of the navbar, you know, we want to make an image, and that image is present where uh, images, and inside the images we have a logo.svg. Number one thing. So let me refresh my page here. First of all, let me check. Navbar is the size of the logo is a 50 by 50. So first thing is that I need to do that here, that image, I need to say height, that is 50 pixels. And then I also say width, that is 50 pixels. So once I save that thing, I come back here to show you. Alt Z, go and refresh it. Yeah, now you can see that I have this logo here. Number one thing, because they are saying that height and width of the logo should be, it should be open. The nav bar also contains the add employee, search employee, and delete employee that are linked to the, so it means that this nav bar has the links. First of all, I need to select that href, and why it should be an index file. Why? If I click on this image, it should open up the index file for me. Okay, so when I click on that, it will open up my, I just need to make sure that I'm refreshed because it is still showing me that, so it should not be. So now you can see that it is opening up the index file.html. Number one thing. And what is the next step? So again, if I just try to read the information, height, and done. Now we need to add the what you can say that we need to links to these things. So if you look at that, we have a home button here, if here, uh, which is not visible right now. Okay, the only thing which is why it is not visible. But anyway, let's see. Okay, so we are talking about, this is a collapsible toggle button. That's fine. We have these links. The first thing is that we have the uh, links. So if I just say we have this add employees, so what I need to do, we have this nav item links, and then here, instead of the links, or we say home sr, I don't want to have that thing here, you know. I will just remove that part, and then instead I say add the first link, employees. Actually, if I just try to drag it down here, so now you can see we have the links here, home, current, and then link, and the current, and no. So what I need to do, I need to replace that because it is in the toggle button, so it is like this. You know, if I click on that, then it is, so add employees first of all, and then it should be linked with the add employees.html. So when I click on that, it should open me that add employee. So we can check this thing if this has been done. Refresh. So now you can see it has add employees. And the other thing is I don't need these search things and disable. So I can just simply remove that part. Okay. So let me, just keep that first item, that everything which is above after that, I want to remove it. So if I do that, you can see that and refresh my page here. and then go here and make it a bigger. So now you can see that we have removed those things. I also don't need this search thing, so I just need to find out that search and remove it. So if you look at that, this form, we don't need that form, so we need to delete that thing from here as well. So now we have in this div, where is the collapsible, we have only one link. Okay, and let's refresh it, and then if I just try to increase it, now we have only one link here. Okay, now I just copy this links 2 times. Why? Because I need two more links here. One is the add employee, second one is the search employee, and the third one is the delete employee. So first add employee, then we have a search employee. Then of course what I need to do, I need to replace that with the search employee.html, that href. And then here we say delete employee, and then of course I need to replace that thing with the delete employee.html. So now if I save that thing and look at my not this one I need to refresh. So now you can see that when I click on the add employee, it is taking me to add employee. When I click on the search employee, it is taking me to the search employee page. When I click on this delete employee, then it is taking me to the delete employee. I just want to refresh. Okay, so now we have implemented this specific task that we need to add a nav bar. Okay, so the other thing they are saying that especially nav bar will be dark again. So now we need to look at our styling. So nav bar, yes. Nav bar expanded, yes. But nav bar light, no. Nav bar, we say nav bar dark, number one thing. And because we are saying that, then bg dark. Okay, so we change this light to dark. If we refresh it, now you can see that it is going into why it is not working my bootstraps. Okay, so you can see that now this has become the dark nav bar. Okay, let's come back, read the more information, the stick to the top. So we can say that sticky top, remember, so we can apply the sticky dash top. So what does it mean? If when we scroll up and down, it will remains stick to the top of this one, and then the contents will be automatically. I hope that I am applying that sticky top class properly, but yes, it is required, so we have to do that. And cover the full width. Yes, it is covering the full width. That is the case, nav bar expanded large, so it is actually it is covering the whole page. We have implemented that part. That's all good. And the other thing, in the index.html file, add a table. Okay, so we have done that navigation bar. So this whole nav bar part is done. Okay. Now next up is in the index table, create a table. Here under the employees, I want to create a table tag. So I say table. Okay, and inside, what is a table, that tag for showing from the server. The table must be styled as bordered table from the bootstrap. So how I can do that, I can say class, and I say it is a table and table dash bordered. Okay, so we have applied that table. And the other thing that we need to make sure, that we need to assign an ID to this table. ID is equal to employees table. Okay, so we have assigned the ID to this table so that we can access this table inside our JavaScript code, inside our client, and we can fill that with the records which we will be receiving from our server. Okay, so now we have done this tag. Okay, so we have applied the bootstrap styling. We also given the ID to that specific table. Now the next step is that we need to fill this table from our data which is coming from our server. So how we can do that? Okay, the first thing that we need to check that we have provided the data, so we can say display the data inside. So first of all, this is the function or the things that we can copy. So display the data in the table. Let's come back here, and then here we want to implement that thing. Okay, and what is that? First of all, I want to send a fetch request to a specific URL. And remember, inside our get, the first get request that we have implemented here, which return me all the data of all the employees from our employees table. Okay, so we have this one. So I will just copy this thing and put it here. I want to send a fetch request to this specific URL. Once I get back the response from our client, from our server, sorry, not the client, from our server, get the JSON data out of it. Once I have this JSON data, I want to process it. The first thing, look, we have given this table. Inside this table, I want to create the rows and I want to create the other records. So first of all, first row, if I just try to make this not this thing and this thing, I just select this part and then put a tick sign. Okay, it is not putting allowing me to tick, and then I put a tick before. So now this is our row. Here we are closing the row. Inside this row we need what? We need the, I just need to remove that double quote sign. We need the things. First column is about the ID, to show the ID of that, because this is a header row. We only need to add that header row once. The second thing is name. The third thing that we need to see is the salary. And the fourth thing that I want to see here is the joining year. Okay, so now we have the ID, we have a name, we have a salary, and joining year. And if I just come back to my informations here, you can see that inside our employees we have 4 fields: ID, name, salary, and joining. So for each field we need a column. Okay, that's fine. Now what I am doing inside this data, because this data is actually have an array of records. So for each we make a for loop for each row and then each record, and then we are going to add one, what you can say that. So we are saying this thing. So first is the ID. So I say ID, and then I need to copy this ID because we have 4. So instead of the ID, next time I am reading the name. Here I am reading the salary, and here I am reading the uh, joining underscore year. Okay, so we are reading all those informations out of that record and then adding a row inside this data HTML string. And once we have finished our table, what I need to do, I need to access this element using this ID. I copy this ID. So what we need to do inside our code, that here, because using this ID we can connect with that. So what I need to do here, I need to say document dot get element by ID, and then inner HTML is equal to HTML string. So actually what we are doing here, we are asking that inside the HTML document we have a HTML element. Of course this is a table type with this ID. Inside the inner HTML you put that this HTML string which we have generated here. We have created the header row for each record inside our for our employee. We have added one row for each employee record, and then at the end we are putting that inside our table. So we have written down this side inside our, what you can say that, this script tag. So now once we have saved everything, and now if I just go and refresh my page, you will see the magic. And the magic is that the data which is coming from our database, which our server, this app.js, sending back to the client, we are receiving it inside our index.html file. We are receiving this data and putting that data inside our table. And the other thing, if I just remember properly, inside our table, so we want to show the nav bar. That is done. We are saying that. Then we say that we also want to apply the bootstrap background for each row for the employees table, not even in the header as well they are applying it. So what I need to do, I need to apply inside the row this class equal to, in the double quotes I can put, say, table dash info. Okay, I can just put set, because background info, so we say table data info. So we can copy this particular specific part, class is equal to, and for each row which we are adding for the table, for each employee record, we can save it. Once I save it and I go back and refresh, so now you can see that it has applied that table background info on that. Okay, you can also say bg info or table info. In both cases that they are perfectly fine. Even if I just try to say bg info here in the header row and refresh it, so now you can see that there are different type of the color, but we are applying that. So either way, you do the table dash info or the bg dash info, in both cases it is perfectly fine for the for that one. Okay, so we have applied. So now if you look at that, we have finished our work on the index.html, and then our website is becoming more in a much better space. Okay. And the other thing, if we just look at that we need to open the add employees table. The first thing is that we need to add the same nav bar which we have added inside our index file. So what I can do, I just copy that nav bar. Remember, we are just minimize it. So starting from the nav bar, and then we also have this slash nav bar. So I copy this whole part and open my add employee, and right on the top, right on after the body, I put that thing here. And I now if I just click on that, my where is my add employee. So now you can see that in the employees table, in the employee web page, you can also see the same navbar you have added inside the index file. Okay, so we are in the add file because we are working on it. I have opened that add employee. Number one thing, so we are done with that specific part. Open the add employee and add the same navbar that we have added in the index. The next thing is, now we add the input fields to the employee name, salary, and joining table. So now where we need to uh, add these fields. So what are those fields? Okay, so we say we want to add the fields. So we say input, and then we give the for sorry, input name equal to name, and what you can say that id. We also need to provide the id, so that we say e name, employee name. Okay, and I just try to keep it simple. It is giving me different options, but if I just go back into my employees table and refresh it, now you can see that I have this thing. We can also put the label here. We can say we have a label, and then we say for this label is for the for salary, not salary. Label is for the name. Okay, employee name. Okay, and then here we say this is for the name, and we can refresh it. So now you can say employee name for name, and then we can put a line break after that. Okay, so after the line break, what I need to do, I need to have the other two things. What are those? The first thing is that we need to have the salary. Okay, so we change the name to salary, and then of course here we say e name, id is equal to e name rather than e salary. Okay, and then here employee salary, and if we refresh our page here, now you can see that we have, maybe I can put another break here, two lines break here, so that it is actually uh, showing, separating me these two fields. The other thing that we need to look at the salary is salary should be a number, so we need to give a type here. So I say type, and type is a number one thing. The same thing, we can copy this salary part, and then I need to put another break, line break here. So I control C. Let me remove that thing and then so that you can see. So I copy three times. So okay. So now I just, instead of salary, I want to say joining year. And the other thing that I need to change here, it is not for the salary, it is for the joining underscore year, number one thing. And I need to change the same name here as well, and then I also need to put e underscore joining here, so I say j, okay, over here. Okay, so I have, again, this is a number. When I refresh my page, now we have added these fields where I can put the name, here I can put the salary, and here I can put the uh, joining here. So now the last thing that I need to put here, I need to put a button here, and then I can say that maybe I can put some class, and then is equal to, it's a btn, and then it is a btn primary. Okay, btn btn dash primary, and I don't want to add an ID here. I have a button and I want to, its own click event, I want to execute a specific method. So first of all, let me refresh. Now we have this add employee thing. It is not looking very nice, but let's say that we have added these labels and the input fields. Label for each input field, and then make sure that you are providing the name and the ID. Name for the input field and the ID, and for the salary and the joining year, we are selecting that they are the numbers. And if I just come back to my uh, descriptions or the tasks, so you can see that it is a year, so it is a decimal number, so we can have those things. Okay, add employees, so we have added that. We have added all these input fields inside our. Now what I need to do, I need to create an add employee function. So inside our script tag, okay, we are inside our script, we say function, and I say add employee, and then we have this thing. So now I need to call this, function on the on click event. I need to call this function, so add employee. So what I need to do, I need to send inside this function, I need to send a post request to our server. So let's go back to our helper file and see what it can provide me. If we look at that, we are saying that this is our code related to the add function. So I will copy this specific code and put it inside my function that I have just created. So inside the function, of course, it is not going to do as what we are want, so we need to change it. The first thing is, it is an add employee. Okay, that's fine. Let the input ID input. So of course, we if we look at our, we have the name. So first of all, I need to have the name variable, and then I need to read the value from our document dot get element by id, and then remember that we have given the name e name, and we are getting its value. So it will connect with this input field, for example challan. It will collect this value and put it inside the name variable. The second input is the salary, so we say salary, and then we say document get element by id, and then here I say e salary. So we need to make sure that whatever the ID that we are providing, it is E capital SALARY. So we are providing that salary here. So again, that's not a capital L let, it is a let here, small, save it. And then the third one is the input, that's joining here. So I say joining here, and then I just don't need to change the type. So I say uh, document dot get element by joining here, so it is all done. So we have uh, connected with these three input fields and get those values inside of. Now we can simply check if we have the name and we also have the salary and we also have the joining here, then we are going to send the fetch request, otherwise we will not send the fetch request. Okay, so let me, in the else part, I need to show a message. So I can say that, I can say alert, please fill the fields. Okay, so it is giving me the option. So we are saying that you need to provide me all the fields. Okay, number one thing. Number two thing, now we come here where we want to send, what is the URL on which we want to send that request. So it is a slash data slash employees. So we will select that one, slash data slash employees, where we are receiving this post request. You know, it should be the same that is here in the post request. Okay, and what we need to tell this one, we need to do that. It's not a Okay. So first of all, what I need to do, we need to check that if name, salary, and joining year information has been given by the user, if they are provided, then we are going to send a fetch request. Okay. And the method is post, and then the body should be converted into the JSON. The first thing, the key value should be exactly the same that has been used inside our database. You know, if you look at that, we have the name, salary, and joining underscore year. So here I say name, and the other thing is we are reading the same thing, name from our record, salary and joining underscore year. So we need to make sure that we are giving the uh, same as a salary, and then we have a joining underscore here. And then here, instead of giving the input values, so actually we are providing the name, and then we are providing the salary, and then the value is actually for joining year is a joining year, like this. So we are providing these values for these keys. Okay, and now we convert that JSON object or JavaScript object into a JSON string, and then we are sending a request. Once we send that request, why it is let me see if I can. Okay, so we are sending that request. It is giving me an error message, but why? We are in this thing. I think there is something which is missing, but let's see. Step by step we will go, and then we will see. So we are uh, sending the post request using these parameters. We are saying that method is post, we are sending inside the body, we are sending that data, we are selecting the header types. This part is not necessary, but we can also say something like that, no problem. and then we say whatever response is coming back from the client, read its body or the information which is sent back, and then using that information uh, uh, we want to what you can say that apply the things. The first thing is that let me control X this part so that we are trying to do the things. What is that? First of all, we have this, then we have this, then we are saying this thing, then it should be, no, don't show me the options. I want to say else. It is if. Oh, it is capital If. It should be a small f. Okay, so that is the problem. So we put that one here. Now we are reading the data, and now here we need to handle the responses. So what are the different type of response which are coming in? We can say that if there's an error, so if the message, if the response is this, the response is something like the error in the database, or if the response is something like this. So let me write it down, copy it from here, and then I say the if data, or actually it is a response, is triple equal to this, it means that we have successfully added the database, successfully added our result. So what I can do here, I can say that alert data. I mean, I'm just trying to, what you can say that I'm not doing anything else. Okay, I just alert. So whatever that message is coming in, we are sending back. We are telling that you can send you can what is happening here. Okay, so we need to have another alert here because we are connecting it. And in the else part, alert error or plus data. So actually, when it is successfully, we are saying that send that data is that. So then we say that data has been employee has been added successfully. Otherwise, we show the error message, and we have multiple error message if it is a fail to add employee or it is a database error. So accordingly, it will show me the appropriate message. So let's get back to this one, refresh it, and now let me uh, without adding anything, click on the add button. So now you say that please fill the field. So look, it is coming here into that part and show me the message. Okay, so now okay, and then I say what you can say, Shahan, salary is he's a excellent employee, 50,000, and then we have the joining year is 2024, and then we click on the add employee. When we click on the add employee, does it go to the client? So yes, it should have gone there, but let me see what the problem is, because it is not showing me that. So we need to open our developer tools and then look at that. We are expecting in the add employees .html page, line number 101, we have an error message. So this is our error message. Okay, so is not a valid JSON. Employee is not a valid JSON. So employee anonymously employee.html. So actually it is add employee. So it is coming here into that error. Okay. So it means that there is something wrong. So first of all, the one thing that is very important to understand, that it is saying that it is not a valid JSON. So we are sending the text back. So we are not sending back our valid JSON. So what I need to do here, I just convert that thing for our get employee. It's all good, but let me not this one, Control X, and put the object here. And here I say message colon, and then I put this thing here. So instead of sending just the text, I am sending an object, and that should be a JSON response. So what I will do here, I will do the same thing for here as well. So I will just try to incorporate into the brackets and then put the message here. The same thing I need to do here as well. I just put the curly brackets here and then put the message here. So now it is more like a JSON object. So what is the, because we have changed, I think that we also need to do the same thing for the other request as well. So let's do the same, and then we can rerun our server, you know. So we are converting these responses as a string. We are converting those them into the JavaScript objects. Okay, that's we are doing in the app.js. Okay, so we are sending back the responses. Okay, and then we say message, and then we also do the same thing for here as well. We say message, and I think that's all done. So we can come back here into the our console, and then we need to control C, stop the server and run the server again, and then again you can see that it is running appropriately. So let's go back to our client, refresh it, and then I say Shalan, he is earning 50,000, and this joining period is 24 or 25, and then we say add employee. So now you can say that there is something wrong. And what is that? Let's cut back, because now we have converted these responses from the server into the JSON object. But what we are doing here, we are not checking it appropriately. So what this or data is now is an object, and inside the object we have the dot message. So we can say that dot message is equal to this. Okay, and if this is the case, then we do that. Otherwise we say dot not message. So we are, because from the server our JavaScript or the JSON object is coming in. So this data is representing that JSON object, and we want to access the message inside. So data dot message, and that should be exactly equal to the same, and then we are showing the message. So let's save it and refresh it. And if I go back to my client, you will see that Shalan has been added twice. Shalan has been added twice inside our database. So it is working, the request is working. The only part is that what was sent back to the by the server and how we are accessing that, they are the problematic. So, but still our data has been added inside. So let's go back to our, what you can say that, where is my, let me close the console now. Oh, we don't need that one. So now we are again here. So let's add Fatima. Huh? And then her salary is 100,000. Huh? She is very not 10,000, 100,000, and then she had joined in the company in 2023. And now we can say add employee. So now you can see still it is showing me the message. What's the problem? Let me check. So first of all, we are handling this data because it is trying to show me that message here, that data message. So again, look at that here, this one, alert data dot message, not data. So message. So now click OK. Let me change the salary of Fatma or to what, Abir, 100,000. Let's do it. And then click on that. So now again, it's because we have not refreshed the page. And again, I can show you, you can see that Fatima and Abir has been added already. And let's go back to the add employee again one last time. I will add something here, and then 2020, and add an employee. So now you can say employee has been added successfully. Now I can go back. So now if you we have implemented add employee, we have implemented index. Now we need to go look for the search and for the delete part. Okay, so we are done with the index, we are done with the employee. We have converted all the messages. They are as a string, as a JSON object, they are coming back. So now I need to go into the search. So first of all, let me open up that search employees. and look at that, it is the default page which we have provided to you guys. And now what I want to implement a few things. The first thing is I want to search an employee, so I need to put an input field here. So if I just go into the add function or add page, and then I need to provide an input field here. So that is actually what you can say that I take that one, I open the search one, and then I put it here. Okay. And then when I refresh my page, so we have employee salary. It is not employee salary, it's actually employee ID. And the other thing is this will be an ID, and this will be an ID as well. And here I just need to put the ID here, and then this is a number, yes. And after that I need to put a button. So let me copy the button from the ad as well, and then here is the button. So we have the same type of the style for everywhere. So this button is not add employee. Here we need to call a search employee, and then of course we need to change search employee. Okay. So if I just refresh, now you can see that we have employee ID. So we need to provide the ID, for example, 1234, whatever it is. And when we click on that, it will execute this employee search employee method to send a request to the server and then get back the response. Number one thing. So the other thing that we want to do here, that we want to add the what you can see that it is a class. So what I need to do here, here we already have this div in which we want to show the records from the employee display. Okay, emp display. Okay, the thing is that this function has not been created yet. So what I need to do here inside my script tag, this is our script tag. Let me close it down. So now we are in the script tag. Inside the script tag, I creating a function, and then I have copied that function name search employee, and inside I want to send a request. And what is that request? That request, we need to read first the ID information. So I say let ID is equal to document dot get element by ID and its value. So first of all, let me remove that part. I don't want to autofill that thing. Number one thing. The second thing is we need to check if ID is given, then what we want to do. And in the else part, I mean, if ID is not given, then we want to show the alert message. Please enter the employee ID. Okay, we are asking that if I just save that one and then click on that one, so now you can see that our else part is working. So now the other thing, we need to send a fetch request, just like we send the fetch request. So we say fetch request on the what you can say that I just again do that slash data slash employees slash dollar ID. Okay, so we are sending that request. So I just need to close it down. And the next thing is that because this request is a get, so we don't need to specify that what is that. So then we say dot, then what is a response, and then we say response dot JSON. Okay, then we say dot, then, and then we have data which is coming from the server, and we want to do that, and then we say dot catch error, alert that error message. Actually this also is what you can say that. Okay, let's see what I have done in the let's see with what we have done inside the index page. So we will do the same here as well. So here when we say edge error, we are saying that console.log error rather than putting into the alert. So we will just try to do the same thing here as well. So here if we have the error, then we are saying that console dot error. Okay. So now what we are doing here, we are sending a get request and we are adding the ID value inside the URL. Okay. And if we look here, we are actually at this point. We are at this method. This method should receive this ID value. We are getting that ID value. If it is given, then okay. Otherwise, we are sending a invalid message to the client. And again, if we look at that, we have not converted that into the JSON object. So okay, so we need to do that. Okay, then we are trying to access the employee record based on the ID, and if the record is given, then we are sending back that record. Otherwise, we are sending back this message, employee not found or error in the message. Okay, number one thing. We are in this one. So what we are receiving here in this method, that data, either it is a data, okay, if data dot message, if there is no data dot message. Why? Because if we look at that, if we are successful, then we are sending the record, and that record is actually will contain the ID, name, salary, and the joining here. Okay, so it will contain those informations about the employee, not the message part. Okay, so if it does not have the message, it means that we have found that record, and then we want to add that record inside our what you can say, that inside our table, inside our page. So we have a display, we want to display that. For example, if I just simply say that let HTML string, and that is equal to, for example, what you can say, div card, and inside the div card we want to do something like this. Okay, and then inside the div card we want to slash div, and then here I want to put the class card body and the class title employee ID, and then we say class paragraph text and salary. So we are putting these values here, so we are saying inside the class div card. And because we have asked, what we asked, that you need to put these informations in the search employee message, employee record not present. So you can also, instead of having this part as a div and the card, you can also do something very simple. H5 heading, then we have a paragraph name, we have a paragraph, where is that, we have the paragraph for the name, we have a paragraph for the salary, we have a paragraph for the that, and we don't need that div. I mean, rather than making that thing simpler, so we are just putting these H5 and the paragraph. Or maybe I can just say that put the H3 here, and then make that part the paragraph H4, and then of course I need to make sure that this one is also H4, this is also H4, and this one is also H4. So we are showing the data in the H4 tags, and then the heading is the H3. Okay, or maybe I can make it H2, make it H2, and here is also H2. Okay, so now this is the HTML string that we have generated from the data of the employee. Now I can say document dot get element by ID, and then we are say this ID, this one. So this is a div in which we want to put the records from our for our employee. So I'm putting this one here. Okay. So when I do that, so now in the else part, what is happening here? In the else part, we are getting a message. If we look at here, in the else part, if there's some problem, some error, then we are getting a message as a JSON object with some information. about that error. Okay, so we are display that thing on the alert, otherwise we are showing that information inside our. The other thing that is very important before we can jump to the end, we need to add the same nav bar that is present in the index or in the add employee. So what I can do again here, I copy this nav bar till that slash nav bar from our index and then put the same thing inside just after the body. I put that thing here. So now if I just come back here, I will refresh my page. Now you can see that I can see my nav bar as well. And the other thing is we have already implemented our function as well. So let's see if it is working perfectly fine. Let me give the ID number 4 and search the employee. Now you can see that it has implemented shown the record. So now you can see I can go to the add employee, our search employee, everything is working perfectly fine. And then if I go here, now you can have all the records here. Now the last part, the last thing that we need to do is related to the delete employee. So what I need to do, I just need to open that delete employee. Okay, and then the first thing I need to add the same navbar. We have just copied it from the index .html, so let's put it here. So let's go back here, go to the UI, and now you can see that our navigation bar is present inside our nav. Now what is next? I need to if I look into that one, I need to enter employee ID, and then we say delete and employee. So first of all, I can just go into the search page, and then I need the same, the same informations, same button, input fields, and I can put it here where I should put here. Let me make it a little bit so that I can see the code. So here, look at that. You need to add the employee delete part. Okay, and here. So now search employee, instead of search employee, first of all, this, if I just refresh my page, now I can see employee ID. Instead of search, we are deleting it. So what we can do, instead of having that search, I say delete. Okay, and now instead of having the search, I say delete. So this is a function that we need to create first. So I will copy this part here. So now if I just refresh my page, we are done with that user interface. So we give the ID, then we can click on the delete button, and then it will delete the record and show me an appropriate message inside this div here. Add a button to delete the employee. I mean, we have already done that. So instead I will put ID here, and here I will just say that employee display, or I will say just say that results. So if uh, what I want to show here, instead of add a button, I want to show the results of the delete operation. Show the results for the delete operation. So this ID is very important. Remember that we can using this ID, I need to access. So let me copy this name of the, instead of search, I say it should be delete. Delete. Okay, we are in the delete function, delete page. Okay, now I just come down here and create a function and give that one. Okay, inside the function, I need to first read the information. So first I will just do that. So what I'm doing here, I'm say that ID document.get element by ID. So if I just look at that, here we have the EID. So we are getting that value from here. Number one thing, if the ID is, I don't need to check that one. I just control X, and here I just check if ID, then I want to do this thing. In the else part, I want to alert that you need to give me the employee ID to delete a specific record. Okay, no problem. Now what we are doing here, we say fetch the, we are saying that slash data slash employees plus ID. We are adding that ID into our URL on which we are sending the request. and we are sending the delete request. So for here, we just need to tell that this is the delete method. And the other thing, we are getting the response back, and then we are reading the JSON informations out of it, and then we have the data. And then if we look at our delete method here, delete request, delete HTTP request here. So what we are getting here, if it is successfully deleted, okay, if the message is this thing, otherwise it is show me a message like that. So to be honest, I mean, I can simply into this one, I can check here if not, if the data dot message is equal to, what is that? I just need to copy this part. I say copy, and then I say paste. So I say triple equal to, okay, alert the employee is employee deleted successfully. And the other thing that I want to do here, I want to show into that, inside this result ID, I want to show the message here. So I can say that uh, document dot get element by ID and results inner HTML employee has been deleted successfully. Okay. In the else part, I am just showing that message on the to the client. Okay. So I think that's all done. And let's check. Refresh my page. I give the ID number 4 and delete the employee. Employee has been deleted successfully. Now you can see also a message which is appear on the page. If I click on that one, you can see that the employee ID with 4 is missing from our database. So that is the practice session, and I hope it is already 1 hour and 46 minutes. I hope that will help you and you can do the practice. Thank you very much.